Hello again, YouTube. This is Mr. Schwa. I wanted to take the time to talk today about how to actually get a job in the executive protection sphere. Now, there are a lot of things that you can do to help benefit yourself, regardless if you have previous experience in the military and or law enforcement. But I'll just say right off the bat, those are going to be your best bets for actually getting into a position as an agent on a detail. So if you're not previous law enforcement or military, that's perfectly fine. Like myself, I am not. I'm neither of those. But there are definitely things you can do to help yourself get a job if you want to make this career change. So with that said, we'll start with the basics of any job, and that is a resume. You will have to send your resume out to as many companies as you possibly can. So that is the dirty truth of it all. It's not going to be sexy. You may get a job that falls on your lap through a friend who you know who is in the industry, who says, hey, come work for me here, come work for me there. That's perfectly fine. It's really, in this world, the way it works is it's about who you know, not what you know. So with that said, the resume is very important. In this industry, the employers and possible clients want to see who they're going to work with. They want to see essentially how you look, whether you shave your head, or if you wear glasses, or if you got freckles on your face, or a cross on your eyes, a cross tattooed on your eye. The point is they want to know who they're working with. They want to see that, and also they're going to look at things. They're going to look at what kind of pictures are you putting in your picture resume. You should only put one, and it's just going to be a headshot. So if you've ever seen a LinkedIn profile, just use a headshot. Probably shouldn't smile, just because this is a serious job. They don't want to goof. And just wear professional clothing. So if it's going to be like a jacket or a blazer or something like that, just wear professional clothing and look the part. The thing with clothing in the EP realm is that you're going to have to adapt. Some days it's going to be hot, you're going to be in a polo. Some days it's going to be cold, you're going to be in a sweatshirt. The point is you're not always going to be in a suit with a collared shirt. So regardless of the fact, in the picture resume, you should probably just use a suit jacket and tie just to be safe. If you're going to be interviewing, the biggest thing is that when you send out your interview, the next logical step is hopefully you get a call that a company wants to bring you in and interview you. So if you're going to do that, definitely dress professionally. Don't look like a bum off the street. Shower, pick your nose hairs, shave your ears, whatever it is you got to do. The back of your neck. Just go in there, look professional, look well kempt. And again, put some lotion on, whatever it is. That don't overdo it. But the point is, go in there ready. When you go into an interview, it is a battle, and you're battling for a position. And that position, essentially, what's going to help you ride into that job is either going to be it's going to be yourself and your reputation, and your reputation is your currency. So the point is, if you carry yourself well into an interview, if you make good eye contact, if you have a strong handshake, if you can use complete sentences, if you can articulate your thoughts and answer the questions without saying, I don't know, I'm sorry, I put my underwear on crooked today, I just can't do this interview. The point is you got to go in there and sell yourself. So what you should do, because they're going to ask you a lot of questions. They're going to ask you questions like, what are your qualifications? What kind of certifications do you have? They're going to ask questions beyond your resume. Is there anything we should know about you? Have you ever worked with another company? Are you familiar with non-disclosure agreements? All that kind of stuff. And what you should do also is you should definitely interview the person interviewing you. You should interview the type of company that you want to work for or are going to be working for. You should ask them, if they have any current extra work, if work is tight, if there's any, if it's going to be a full-time or a part-time position, if there are full-time benefits. If there are benefits for full-time or part-time individuals. What kind of shifts are we working? Are we basically running, 60-hour shifts a week, like Monday through Friday, 12 hours a day? Is it going to be like a Panama schedule? Is it going to essentially be, 2 or 3 days on, 2 or 3 days off, 2 or 3 days on, that kind of stuff? Ask if they're going to W-2 you as an employee or use you as a contractor. Here in Virginia, that's very important because you should not work as a 1099 because the DCJS, they would prefer if you are an employee, because if you're going to be a 1099 contractor, there is some insurance liabilities, and also companies should not be doing that. They should not be 1099ing you. They should be basically W-2ing you, taking the taxes out, all that kind of stuff. Just make sure that they make you an employee of that company. So I think I mentioned before, go in there, dress professionally, and do not go into an interview unprepared. because they may actually ask you certain questions. They may actually, be on the resume, they might ask you scenario questions. An example of a scenario question would be, you're leaving your client's place, you are going down to the car, and then all of a sudden, Sally Nobody, who is an 80-year-old, the neighbor, she's walking her dog, she's basically crossing your path and falls down in front of you and has a heart attack, or is having a heart attack, is clutching and breathing and wheezing. You're with your client, what do you do? That was a question that was asked me. And again, it's one of those, you don't know if this is a trap, you don't know if this is a real situation. The point is, you have your client right there. There is a medical emergency that could potentially be life-threatening, but you are responsible for your client. So again, that was a question that was asked me. I don't want to go down that rabbit hole too much, but the point of that is that you need to have mental acuity. And a gentleman named Eric Konahia of BPI Global Security, he once mentioned mental acuity, which is also known as situational savvy, or word for word out of his mouth, this is the ability to take any circumstance and be able to see the intended outcome before it happens. So that is very important if you're going to be working in the executive protection realm, just because you have to be able to think fast. You have to be able to already have step 2 and 3 and 4 down, because the point is that if anything goes wrong around your client, you have to know how to handle that situation, but also your client's safety is priority. And again, employers are going to want to know that. They don't want to hear that, I would help the lady and abandon my client. That's not what employers want to hear. They want you to understand that if you're going to take this position as an agent, especially if you're going to be doing close protection, the client is the priority. In the military or in law enforcement, the way that works is you don't leave without your guys. Basically, for example, if you are on a detail of 5 or 6 guys and one of them got shot, in executive protection, it is what it is. You have to leave a guy behind sometimes, because the client is what matters. So this is another thing that they will probably make note of to you, is that you have to be comfortable if things got down and dirty. Are you ready to put the client before yourself and before everyone else on your team? So that's definitely something it's a good thing to harp on, because some people who want to, I want to hold a gun, or I want to, protect someone, they don't really understand that really it's all about the client. They are the driver of the money. They are the one who are paying the bills. They are the ones who are essentially funding the contracts which pay your bills. So with that said, client is important, and you need to understand that going into an interview. So also on your resume, I should have mentioned, you should also put whatever books you are reading, because reading is actually important, and you should always be reading something about your craft. Or whether it's a news article or a book. But the point is, any major books by some of the big players like Robert L. Oatman, he wrote a book called The Art of Executive Protection. He wrote a revised version of that after 2001, because tactics needed to change in the wake of in the tragedy of September 11th. So he wrote a revised version. He has a couple other ones out there, but he's just an example of heavy hitters and people who've been in this industry for more than 20 or 30 years, who've written books, who know the craft and who are experts. And you should definitely put that on your resume. It is important. And I remember when I applied for one job, somebody said, I see that you read that book. I went to so-and-so school and I know him, and it's nice to see that you're reading good material. So it is important to actually put books you've read regarding executive protection on your resume. And you can just have it as a small blurb, like I read so-and-so, Robert L. Oatman's The Art of Executive Protection, and in whatever year. So you can just do that. So with that said, you're going to have to definitely apply to jobs. You're definitely going to have to get a decent picture resume. You should definitely list all the skills that you have, whether it's going to be medical, firearm handling, languages, for example, electronics operations such as ham radio. Are you familiar with radios? That's important to go on the resume, and people will definitely value those kinds of skills, because if you speak multiple languages, and you need to travel out of country to either South America, Europe, or wherever, that will definitely be an asset if you speak the language and where you are going to visit. So definitely put any skills you find are relevant. Don't put things like, I tie my shoes with a square knot, or I'm the tic-tac-toe world champion. They don't care about that. They want relevant skills. Can you shoot a shotgun? Can you shoot, what kind of certifications do you have? When do they expire? Do you have a valid passport? Are you up to date on your health records? So there's a lot that goes into this. So like I said, just to reiterate, please, if you could, just get a decent resume, make sure that there are no grammatical errors. One complaint a lot of employers are making in this industry is that people just don't know how to write, because part of a detail is you will have to do summaries of what's going on, whether it's an update hour by hour at the end of a shift. You will have to learn how to write. Keyboarding is important, and writing skills are important. Reporting is important. So definitely brush up your skills doing that. So put all that stuff on your resume. Send your resume out to as many employers as you possibly can. When they interview you, interview them as well. Find out the type of company that they work for, because some companies will have a bad reputation. And if you work for a bad company, people will know this is a small industry. They will know who you work for, and they may not want to hire you because of the bad practices said bad company has developed and has a history of. And on top of that, like I said, you need to be prepared for them to ask you scenario questions in an interview. You definitely need to address appropriately. Yes, and always say yes or no, sir. Be respectful, and also list books that you've read on your resume. That is very important. And like I said, employers like to see that you're constantly reading and you're not afraid of learning. Because if you are in an AP position, you may at some point one day get an assistant team lead or a team lead position. So people don't get there typically through ass kissing or anything like that. You definitely have to know your stuff, and you have to be sharp, because people's lives are on the line. So I think I touched on some relevant points. If you have any questions, please leave a comment, or you can just leave a comment. I'll get back to you as soon as I can. And if you possibly can, subscribe. I'd appreciate it. And you guys have a great time. Thank you for listening, and stay safe out there. Stay sharp.